Okay. You're on.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 19th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. City Council meeting. At this time, we will stand for pledge and prayer by Councilman Lawrence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we gather once more for this council, Father. Lord, we ask for wisdom and insight of how to direct what needs to be done for the city to make it a better place to live, Father. Lord, we ask that you just bless all of the members of not only of the council, but of all the city members, Father.
Yeah.
All of our emergency response people, our sheriffs, our fire department, our police officers, Father. Anybody that puts themselves out there, Father. Lord, we ask that you bless them and keep them safe. And Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom and knowledge, Father, today and how to deal with the stuff today that needs to be dealt with. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Today's the day.
And at this time, we'll have any questions or comments from any citizen that would like to speak. And I see none, so we'll move on to the city manager's monthly report.
So we're getting close to the end of the fiscal year. Of course, one good way of knowing that is that you're going to take action on tax rate and a budget, which is a pretty good sign. We're getting close to a new year. But you'll notice we're still doing pretty well. The general fund, the revenue are still over expenditures. We're still tracking pretty positive. You notice there's about a little over $1 million in positive variation left for the last couple months of the year based on the revenue that's coming in. We are still projecting to finish a couple $100,000 to the good, so that's always positive. Same thing's true in water sewer fund. Our revenue is still tracking over our expenditures. That's, of course, without the transfer accounted that we are transferring out, but operationally we're looking pretty good, and we're going to be in a positive there. Our revenue's tracking higher than budgeted, and our expenditures are continuing to track lower than budgeted, so that's a good sign. Sales tax is kind of flattened out the last little bit. We're just a little bit under our budget now. We're hoping for kind of a bigger increase or kind of a little bit of rally in September for the last month, but I think we're going to be a couple percent less. Of course, we do have turnarounds starting at Nutrien and at Phillips 66 later in September, so we should have a good start to fiscal 26 on that. So nothing necessarily to be too concerned about there. We're still well above the 5-year average, so we're still trending good over the 5-year average. Hotel motel occupancy is above the 5-year average and above our 5-year outlet or 5-year average, and that's going to probably continue into the first part of the year with the turnaround as well. So those are all looking pretty good. As we talk about a couple of projects, of course, not a whole lot going on. Of course, the chip seal is actively ongoing right now. Started yesterday for our seal coat project for this year. So they're out in Buena Vista today doing the streets that are scheduled in Buena Vista. They've already done Industrial Boulevard. They will end up on East Wilson Street as part of that. And remember, this is the chip seal portion. Once they get done, we'll be coming in with the micro sealing on a couple of the streets, and micro sealing will hit Roosevelt and West Wilson. The chip seal on Wilson is just from Maine to Florida, but the micro surfacing will be from the Cloverleaf to Florida. And so that'll pick up some of the extra bleeding that happens there kind of by the post office. Contractor's going pretty good. This is the third year that Missouri Petroleum's won the group seal coat bid and is doing it. So they go pretty quick and really not a whole lot of loose rock. Been a lot better than that first year we did it. So I haven't, no issues have been brought up to me at this point, but we didn't get a whole lot of notice. Of course, in the last couple of weekly update emails, I kind of told you the weather had slowed everything down and we might not have a lot of notice on that, but they are progressing. Of course, we're working out the final contracts on the well 13 replacement now. So since the council awarded that project at the last meeting now. It's just getting the paperwork in order and then getting a notice to proceed sent out to the contractor. City Hall, the projects here are wrapping kind of up. Got just a few things. We're short 2 pieces of ceramic tile for 1 bathroom and about 1 box of LVT tile that should be here today or tomorrow. So the painter will be back and they'll be cleaning up on Thursday. Hopefully have most of that done. The plumber's here today tying in the last bathroom. So most of the chaos is gone. So it's looking really close. I know that the staff will be ready to get the bigger bathrooms open. I didn't realize how many of us were on the same bathroom schedule until we were down to 2 bathrooms. So it's always a little bit of an interesting workup, but depending on if you better give yourself a little cushion. But we should have those back in opening next week. So I think everybody's excited for that. But that's really all the projects we got going on now. So we'll kind of go through some departments here. OEM, of course, they've been working on putting together an after-action report from all the TIFMAS responses that we've had. You know, we've had quite a few people going down for the flooding, both in the Valley area and the Kerrville area. So Jason Whistler's been, Archie's been, Brandon's been, Terry Langwell's been, Jason Pender's been. So they want to get together and kind of discuss things that they learned. I will say that all the feedback has been we're better off than we think we are, and we're better off than a lot of people. But we do want to, those are good learning experiences, and we want to make sure that we put lessons learned. You will be taking action on a bid for disposal services in the future. So that's one of the things that came out of the wildfire is we're going to pre-bid disposal. If we don't have a disaster, we will never use the bid. But if we have a disaster, we have it pre-bid, it's complied with federal laws, and we can immediately put it for reimbursement. So a lot of these places, if you don't have that disposal service pre-bid, you have to bid it. There is no, for FEMA reimbursement, there is no waiver for an emergency to go through the procurement process. So, and as you know, people don't want to wait 3 months.
As for ash and trash, or like tree stuff, or what type of disposal are we talking about here?
It will cover the gambit, and so it will be probably for roll-offs, so that they will come in and set roll-offs, and we'll have that set. And of course, we're working on probably pre-permitting with the TCQ a disposal waste site. And just what we've seen, debris management is just always one of the big problems. We've seen that with all the wildfires here. We saw that in Perryton with the tornado up there. We've seen that in Kerrville with the flooding. That's just something that is always a problem. So we're going to try to get ahead of it. So when you see that come in front of you, I don't want you to think we're spending a whole lot of money on something that we didn't budget. It's just there just in case. And then it's pretty common. The hurricane areas do that a lot, but they've been, after you go through it a couple times, you learn that lesson. So we're trying to take some of that. But we're excited to kind of get some of that feedback from the disaster response and get some things pre-planned. I know that we've already been working with Deidre and public engagement to have some pre-built out disaster resource web pages, but they're just not published. So they're not accessible. But then if a disaster happens, you can just publish them real quick and all that information is there.
So they consider that hazardous waste when it's on fire?
Yes.
I figured it would.
It's you missed all of the fun internal debates. I know that because the TCQ wanted us to refer to it as petroskibble. And they didn't like the fact that we didn't want to call it petroskibble because we didn't think anybody would know what the hell petroskibble is. And so that's generally one of my, when I do roundtables or sessions with other cities and things like that, I say, don't be afraid to, your city and your people, you need to communicate in the way that they'll understand it. Don't worry about what the state agency says. Yes, to some environmental engineer, it might be petroskibble, but to the rest of the people, it's ash or burned wood. Yeah. So we're trying to make sure that we've got that stuff ready. The radios have been installed in the new mobile command unit. It's actually left yesterday to go get its graphic installed. Right now, it's tentatively got a spot set up in September at the Panhandle Regional Emergency Management Conference to be displayed. So we're going to hopefully get it show off and it'll be ready there. And then we'll have it ready for Boomtoberfest. Deidre and Whistler are also both teaching sessions at the prep conference. So we're excited to have them involved. We've also started work on the hazard mitigation grant. The next hazard mitigation grant that came available from the fire that hit kind of the carbon black area. So that actually was an FMAG fire. So we think we're going to have about $900,000 available for that. So right now we're working on trying to get generators sized and priced for our critical sewer infrastructure. So that we can maybe, keep the sewer running even without power. So that we're looking at the sewer plant and a couple of the main lift stations so that we don't have those issues. I always like we're very lucky that we elevate a lot of water. We've kind of talked about that. We elevate somewhere around 11 million gallons. Our daily residential use is about 1.5 million gallons. So, we've got days of water supply if we don't have power. But if you have water available and people are using the water, but your sewer plant isn't working, you kind of create a big problem. So we're going to start probably focusing on the sewer side because that's a lot bigger problem than the water production side. So we're looking at those and getting some of those started. We also did have TDM STAR training here. The STAR is the State of Texas resource request form. So we got some of our administrative people to go through that so that in an emergency they can come in and help out. I know that like Nicole and I went through that, and Mackenzie, I think, went through that with Nicole so that we could, tie into some other people that aren't always necessarily emergency responders into some of those emergency roles. And then we also have some training coming up that we partnered with TDM on, the G200, the elected and appointed officials training, that we have training for donations, volunteer, and debris management coming up as well. In dispatch, they're getting ready for their upcoming TCIC audit. And then they also did some presentations at the Stinnett schools on 911 awareness and how to call and get emergencies. Fire marshal was at the back to school fair, so that all went well. They were giving out bicycle helmets as part of the Project Shield that we've been raising money for the last couple of years, so I know that went really well. We also had a meeting with Pantex on coordinating some of their responses and getting more contacts and coordination with Pantex. IT has been working on replacing citywide camera systems, so that was budgeted this year as part of our project. Several of our old cameras are on the government do not use list. So we've been replacing those mainly. The court has been replaced, and they're working at the police department. Also slowly working on getting our two-factor authentication put in place. So that's accessing all of our systems will require two-factor authentication in the future. So that's making sure that we got that second levels to protect the data and resources of the city. And of course, they've been working with the mobile command unit as well, getting all those firewalls and switches and everything in place so that it'll communicate with the rest of our system so we can have that fully operational. HRs, we're starting to get ready for open enrollment now. Open enrollment for our health benefit plan will be November 4th and 5th. Our broker, McGriff, that's been helping us the last couple of years, we have decided to go ahead and bid out health insurance again. Not necessarily because we're looking to change, but as you might recall, when we bid it out last year, vendors have more aggressive pricing if it's out for competitive bid. So making sure that they stay honest and keep the best price to us, we're going to open it up again this year. I think that's mainly just to make sure that we get an honest price. I don't necessarily expect us to change, depending on what that result is, but you might see some action on that depending on how that goes. If UHC comes in as the winner again, since it's not changing, we're just extending the contract. It won't require action. But in case you see that some of that notice or somehow that gets back to you, we are planning on doing that. Of course, health insurance is a big expense for us, so we do want to make sure that we stay on top of that. If you recall, 2 years ago when we did this, we split everything up to where we've got a different vendor for supplemental insurance, we've got a different vendor for the HRA, HSA card, and we've got a different vendor for medical. So that way we can bid all those out separately without necessarily impacting it all. Prior, it was all or nothing. So like going forward, our HRA, HSA, the spending card vendor probably won't change, so we won't have a lot of those issues that we had when we had to change that. So we can change medical without impacting your card or without impacting your dental, or we could change dental without impacting your card and without impacting your health. So hoping for a good benefit with that. We're also in the implementation phase of our new benefit management software that's going to be Benefit First. So this is that open enrollment software that they use to pick their stuff and that we can use to keep track of everything. It also communicates with the vendors so that people get added right. We've had a solution we went to a solution when we changed over to UHC, but it was the cheap basic solution, and we knew that going forward, and it has been causing some issues. It'll send out a file, and it will like remove coverage from somebody when it shouldn't. And then we don't know what happens till like an employee goes to try to use it, and then it says they don't have coverage anymore because they made a change and it resent the whole file. And so we're a pretty complex city, and we have what I've learned in all of this is that our benefits are very generous and a lot more unique than a lot of other cities. And so we needed a little more capabilities to make sure that we make that easy. We also are doing that with 1 employee now, 2 employees, next year, but with 199 authorized employees, that's normally 3 or 4 HR positions. So we're definitely wanting to invest in that to keep our personnel count lower, and I think that'll make things a lot easier. So Michelle's definitely been busy with all of that. On the fire department, we've had a lot of development and training continue there, like always. Jack Dowdy's received his Officer 1 certification from TCFP, and Firefighter Munger's completed his hazmat tech. Brock Diamond and Jacob Hickmont have both reached their 4 years of service and received their intermediate fire license. And Brandon Sells has completed his Instructor 1. So we appreciate all their development on professionalism and making sure they continue to serve our community. They also helped with the fireworks out at the lake and the Freedom on Main. They did the police versus firefighter water gun fight for the end of Park Rec. That's always, one of their funding things. They also, if you were in attendance, which I know some of you were there, they did model purses for the women's conference, which apparently was one of the highlights of the event. Kobe Medeiros in the fire mitigation department also now has his burn license, so we now have 5 certified burn managers in the city to help us complete all of that. And Kobe and Archie both taught a Sawyer course out at P66. They're also getting ready for the JA Ranch prescribed burn, which is one of those that we do yearly that helps get us some revenue to offset their cost. And then we did get assist Frank Phillips College, who's now a testing center for the Texas Commission on Fire Protection, so that we can do a lot more of our certification testing for the fire guys here in town. So that's always a good thing. In the police department, or police services, animal services has been working on increasing their FEMA training and been taking a lot of those sort of things. We did get the new electrical panel replaced in the building now. That was one of their capital projects for this year to give them a little more stability. Their second truck and box is now in service, so we've gotten all of their vehicle equipments replaced, and all that's on back order. They also helped on an investigation in the county, which resulted in 23 dogs being impounded from outside the Fritch area. So we appreciate their assistance there and working together. And the police department actually got notice that our last 3 Tahoes have a ship date and will probably be here before the end of the fiscal year. So for the first time since 2021, we're going to have 0 vehicles on order other than fire trucks and ambulances. So all of our light duty stuff will be here and will be caught back up. So that's, I'm trying not to be.
Not wood.
There's lots of wood up here. But of course, the police department also, they participated in the Boots versus Badges blood drive along with the fire department, and the motors unit did the big Boots versus Badges opening over in Amarillo. They were at Freedom on Main as well with the fireworks at the lake. Our SROs have completed, they've been to the TASRO conference, so they're all geared up, and of course now started for the school year, so they've been educated and updated on all the nice changes that happened at the legislature this year. The police department also taught the CRAES, which is the Citizen Response to Active Shooter course for the Stinnett and Fritch ISDs for all of their teachers during their in-service training, so that they were ready for back to school. We have been working with Borger ISD to get that on their agenda now too, so that's been something we've been wanting to do here. They also were at the back to school fair, and then the motors unit participated in the Iron Horse Shootout motorcycle competition in Amarillo. So the team, they won the second and third place in the partner competition and second in the team competition. Not everybody was there, so definitely some kudos to the motors unit there. In public works, we did donate some traffic cones to Paul Belton so that they could use to kind of line up their bus scene and their unloading areas. We helped the library fix their flagpole. Of course, the street department has been busy prepping for seal coating, which we talked about going on a little bit earlier today. I would like to say that we will stripe all these streets, but we'll do them after all the work's done so we can do all the striping. I know some of that's been brought up on South Main, but keep in mind when all of this is done, we're going to have to stripe Roosevelt. We're going to have to stripe Main Street, Wilson Street. So there's a lot of striping to do. So that makes a lot more sense with that truck just to do it all in once than it does to kind of piecemeal it as it's ready. With the seal coating done, we expect Intermountain to probably be here within the next 4 weeks. I know that they're in Amarillo getting ready to start Amarillo's project. So they're in the area. So I don't expect a whole lot of delay with that. I do expect it completed in this fiscal year. Street Department and Public Works team also helped support the second Saturday of Main event that was here this year. They were at the back to school fair with their little gator helping keep up with trash and everything. I know that that's one of the big needs and one of the big thanks that we always get from the United Way. I know that they really appreciate that. It's one of those things that not everybody sees, but it's one of those things that without it, the events just don't go as smoothly. So we appreciate the Parks and Solid Waste guys for helping, make sure that everything stays clean and kept up with that. And now all of our summer hands are done for the summer because school's back in session. So you might see some slow down in how we keep up with a little bit of that, but we're going to try to keep some part-time, some regular. We got one of them in the Parks Department that's going to convert to a regular part-time to keep them going. So we'll get some of that. We're trying to keep the code enforcement guys as long as we can, but there again, if they've got school, it starts being a little bit of an issue. With code enforcement, I did kind of want to touch on just a few things. I know that we get a lot of feedback with that, and I'm not 100% sure that everybody understands. It's really easy to see your little area, but you need to realize that we're responsible for the entirety of the city. And I think sometimes people don't understand how big and how much area that really is. So if you look in, the performance measure monthly report that we give, so far this year, we've already sent out 1,021 weed letters. Our goal for this time of year was 342. So we've tripled what our goal was and what we did last year. So they are going out. We've done another 125 waste and debris cases, and we filed 82 court cases. That 82 court cases is above our target of 37. So, I mean, they are working. It just might not realize that. The alleys that we got so far this year, we've cleaned 893 blocks of alleys. So that's above our target of 784. They've disposed of 118 tons of debris from the alleys. That's a little bit lower than our target, but we've had to. Hauling debris has been taking a back seat to mitigating weeds and growth because it's just normally by this time the rain has slowed down and allowed the growth to slow down, but we've been getting rain like once a week. So you mow it and then it goes right back to growing. So there's no real time to catch up, but we are working on that. We have mowed 76 acres of private property. So that's property owned by somebody else that we've abated. So that's 76 acres. We've mowed 81 miles of right-of-way. So a good chunk of that is state right-of-way that the state only mows twice a year, but this council and the community we know does not believe that twice a year is enough. So we mow all of that West Wilson right-of-way going out to Fritch along with all the other right-of-ways. So that's 81 miles is a lot. We've applied 600 gallons of herbicide. So that gets, blended. So that's, I think like 7,500 gallons of blended herbicide. So we've bought 600 gallons. So, if you go to the store and you get a gallon of herbicide, we've gone through 600 of those. Mm-hmm. So we are spraying for all of that. I just kind of wanted to put some numbers and some basis behind all of that.
With all this rain and stuff, are we having to do any type of mosquito control?
So we are treating standing water when we get it. We lost our certified sprayer. So we are in the process of trying to get another person, actually more than one recertified, but that's taking a little bit of time. We have partnered with Pampa to allow us to kind of work under their license for some things. Of course, treating standing water, and we did put out there that we do have the herbicide tablets available for free for citizens that want to come up here. Really, that is the best way to limit the mosquito population, is keep water off of your property, treat the standing water that you do have, and do things that don't collect standing water. And so I will say, as bad as people might think it is, I got back from Missouri a couple weeks ago, and whew, that brings a whole new light on
Bitten.
on thick. I do, as we go into utilities, I want to kind of talk about some of that, because we do get, a little bit of some feedback on water leaks. The summer is the worst time for water leaks, because as the ground warms, it actually shifts more when it warms than it does when it is cold. So this is the busy season. So far this year, we've done 36 mainline work orders, which our target was 24. And we've done 272 service line work orders, which is 126. So with 2 months left to go, that's like one service line it's actually two every single working day. Keeping in mind that if it's not blowing out and not an emergency, we are not exempt from dig test requirements, meaning we have to call it in, have to wait for them to mark it, and then go out there and dig it. We're also a little bit shorthanded in that department. And so even shorthanded, and even with those requirements, we've doubled the repairs of what is normal and what was planned for. So in total, water distribution has done 640 work orders in about 300 days. So that's right now, that's normally a 7-man crew. They're down to like 5 right now with another 2 hiring. So
The typical fix on that, is it usually a dig and clamp or replace?
So it depends on what it is. Normally the service lines, we're just replacing them, because what happens is just the service line leaks are generally small, and they've just, over time, as the ground shifts, the rocks, because if anybody around here has ever tried to dig, we're not in a bunch of sand and a bunch of nice soft clay. We're in very rocky dirt. And so over time, it just weakens those points until they get a leak. And so depending on how much we dig, we do normally try to replace the service line. And when we can, we sleeve it. So that's
good.
Right. Now, so this year we've done 272. We average about 150 a year, give or take. But there are 4,800 service lines in this town. And so there again, I know that it might look like that one's been leaking for a while, but it could be in line. And it might have to wait 3 days. And then sometimes if you've got a blowout on a main, you've got to go address that. And when we've had 2 pretty big main blowouts, one at the nutrient plant, one out at the carbon black plants, which those can take 3 to 4 days to fix. And those are critical. They impact our industry's ability to make money. And so those always get prioritized. And when you're doing that, you can't do any of the service lines. And so the fact that they've done 272, when I know for a fact there's at least 4 weeks where they've had to do other things, I think that number just looks pretty good. So we're working through them and we're getting to them. I know that it might be frustrating because you think nothing's going on, but I can tell you they're not, these employees are not sitting around doing nothing. It's just there are 4,800 connections and a process. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that with water distribution. They're still completing most of the work orders within 1 day once it's assigned and available to be worked on. So they're getting there. They might just have to wait just a little bit.
Thank you for going through that on both the code enforcement and the water. I know there's a lot of social media, misinformation, and I appreciate that you went through that.
Well, and it's, and I get it. Everybody, we're in our own little world. And like I said, a lot of times we only go through what we see, and we've got our same routine, and, we've got to just make sure that everybody opens their view a little bit and understand that it's not just them, it's the entirety. And I'm not saying we're perfect in everything, but, when we see reports, social media is a good way. We do keep track of that and try to respond when we can. You know, it's social media is kind of like the fisherman and how big the fish was, right?
Exactly.
The one thing we know is there was a fish.
Yeah.
And so there is always truth in it. And so, you know, it is valuable information. We do try to respond to that.
Absolutely.
With our downtown convention, of course, Nicole's been busy. She presented at the Women's Conference and helped support that. We've also been busy. We submitted our application to the Main Street program. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll know about that later this year. Keep in mind that if we do get accepted into the Main Street program, one of the biggest things is if we apply for downtown revitalization grants, it puts us in a different category. And so we're only competing with other Main Street cities, which is like 40. But when you're on the other side, you know, it's everybody else. So, and not all those 80 are submitting applications each year. And so we're excited about that. It does open up some other programs and educational opportunities for Nicole to be able to help out and educate our downtown merchants and other businesses looking in downtown. And so we've got some pretty cool things, I think, coming up with that as we work through that, as we get the tiers will be meeting again probably pretty soon as we talk through those grants. And so we're going to start seeing some improvements down with that. Of course, Nicole and Deidre both have been busy getting ready, putting the final coordination in on Boomtoberfest. Talk a little bit more about that and public engagement. Mackenzie put in another bid to host the Texas Association of Venues annual conference in Borger. So we were just a few points off last year from getting it, and they gave us some feedback. So we're excited and hopeful maybe we'll get all the venue runners here to
That'd be cool.
have their convention here at Borger. Of course, every time we've had a convention or training come in, everybody's always positive feedback. So we're excited for that. And they also, Nicole and Mackenzie helped put together welcome bags for the class of 1965 who had their reunion back in town. And I'm sure they were oohed and awed for those that hadn't seen the dome as they came through. And we do like to give them some cool swag. We're also, if you've got ideas, y'all can start thinking. You will be ordering Centennial swag here pretty soon. So just keep in mind that's coming up. And public engagement, since our last time we had to talk, our Coronado Edition neighborhood cleanup got 2,160 pounds of bulk waste off the out of the neighborhood. The Thompson Edition also had theirs at 2,700 pounds. And then up next is North Hughes. Keep in mind that I know we've had some feedback, like this last time somebody complained because the trailers weren't close enough to where they lived.
Sorry.
You know, we do have bulk. You can call and get a trailer for free. Call in the transfer station
Absolutely.
and they will bring it to your house. And, you know, I know we keep getting feedback that, well, I didn't know. Well, I don't know what more we can do. They're in the newsletter that we mail on utility bills. They're on the website. They're on social media. They're on our app. They're posted on the wall of the glass of utility billing when you come in if you pay your water bill. So, I mean, I remind Deidre and Nicole a lot here lately that remember communication requires both sending and receiving. So it's not always our fault. You have to be willing to receive the communication. And if you're not willing to receive it or looking, you still have part of that fault. So we can't go knock on everybody's door. And besides, if we knocked on their door, they would probably not answer and accuse us of trespassing and wanting to know why we're on their property. We did say we are getting ready for Boomtoberfest. That's the second weekend in October. So if you haven't noticed, Tony LaRue is our celebrity judge this year, and we'll be doing a little bit of performance. We've got the Spotify playlist out there for the 15 bands that are that we've selected to compete. Had a lot of good turnout, a lot of high quality. So after last year, the bands that were here had a really good time and have spread the word. And so this year we got some better. So I'm excited to see how that expands. We did complete this year's dumpster art competition. Those dumpsters have been painted, and if you've been to the Meggert Shopping Center, you can see those. Those have been placed there, which I think definitely, with the new parking lot and everything, having the painted dumpsters definitely improved that.
Where?
They're right behind Borger Pharmacy and at the. We also had our moonlight meditation at the park. At the swimming pool. We had our second one coming up. It's already sold out. You will notice that the youth center is trying to get out there and do a few things with the swimming pool. We do have weekend hours still, even after summer started. So we talked about the new pool giving us a little more flexibility because we do keep water. This pool is designed to keep water in it all year long. And of course, it'll get winterized at some point and won't be swimmable, but it does give us a little bit of opportunity to do some things while it's still hot. So it's, it's likely to still be in the 90s and 100 well into September. So depending on how the usage goes and what the feedback is, we'll keep evaluating with that. They're starting on Wednesdays now to do a toddler hour in the mornings they'll keep the big pool closed and all the pools off so that you can have some toddlers. And then again, that just kind of springboards off
A lap.
they did some lap hours, for people that would just want to come and swim. So we are trying to try some new things. And I know some of that was the feedback that we saw on Facebook over some of that with spending that much money. And part of that, we didn't have a choice because it was that or no pool, but it has given us a lot more opportunities to give more options. Again, I know that, entertainment events is one of our strategic pillars. The feedback all the time is we didn't know about things. Again, I don't know how you don't know. I mean, you've got to be willing to see there things are out there, and there's definitely things going on. Deidre also did a session at the Women's Conference. We've completed our second Saturday of Summer series with the car cruises and all of that. That tend to pick up a little better. We have officially earned our tourism-friendly certification. And technically, we've earned our music-friendly certification. They will be presenting that digitally, remotely to us during our first meeting in October. So we're excited about that. They are finishing up on the Centennial stories, trying to work on getting the Centennial book put together. So if you have a Centennial story or something that you want to get, they're still opening to those. We're kind of, I think, we pitched an idea, and I think we'll reach out to the community at some point. I think we might try to do some sort of community time capsule. The one that I saw that I thought was really good is they had people write letters about what they hoped their city would be like in 50 or 100 years. And so I kind of thought something like that might be interesting. So we're working on some of those. Keep in mind that the Centennial Committee, if anybody wants to feedback or join that, that's the fourth Monday of every month.
Will those books be for sale?
Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine once we get them done, the city will buy them, and then we'll probably we'll have different, where you can buy them or we give them to certain things. That'll kind of be a decision at a later time. We'll see how much they cost. And we've also started working with BISD and some of their new administration on trying to coordinate another Shattered Dreams type program. Again, that's the alcohol awareness, drunk driving, texting. Just now they include texting while driving and all that stuff. So that's exciting. With the school year starting, Deidre's getting back in on getting ready to seat the next Youth Advisory Council. And then we have also started a website refresh. We do that every 3 years, so it's time for a little kind of refresh on the website, mostly just graphic, but that gives us an opportunity to update some things and get newer technology in on the website. And they've started planning for the Tall Tales tour for this year over the kind of Halloween area. So if y'all are interested in that, those tickets always go pretty fast. But this year they're adding the courthouse to the tour, especially the 4th floor and the old jail and some of the tunnels. I'm not going to ruin them. I was chided that I was not overly excited or overly impressed with some of the underground, the tunnel under 6th Street. But I will keep my mouth shut there and not. Like
Borger Hotel is scary.
But that's what I have for this month and the city's activities last month. Any questions I can answer?
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Garrett. Appreciate it.
I did kind of want to just add a few things too. I know some of the news stories have got out there. I'd like to kind of give an update on 828 and the sports complex. I would remind some of this, I think, seems to have been ruffled by the fact that our link to the 828 website came off the homepage. We've got an area down there that is like current events on the homepage, and we removed it to make way for the budget and tax rate information. That was not necessarily us trying to be secretive. It was us thinking that maybe people might be more interested in what their tax rate and the budget for next year is going to be. The 828 page is still up there. It's still got all of that information up there. It's under business and then economic development, and you can click on it. We had previously put out, and all the questions I'm seeing now are still the same ones. We've got these frequently asked questions with answers. Why Borger? How is the city addressing concerns about this project being a scam? Will this project make our taxes go up? Why are there so many questions, and why don't we know what the incentives are? Can our infrastructure handle this development? Will 828 get the land after the EDC improves the infrastructure and then sell it for profit and never build the facility? If they want everybody to stay on site, what is the benefit to local businesses? What is the benefit to our community? Why is 828 shifting focus from Mississippi to Borger? These answers are already out there. I'm not going to go through them. We've answered a lot. That information is still out there. It is still progressing. The council, we took action to approve a grant application on BEDC's behalf for the some infrastructure improvements. And through all of this, I have warned you that this next phase would take a lot of time, because at this point, I would remind people that this is a private development. This is not a city project. We're not telling them what to build, how to build it. We're making sure that they follow our codes. And yes, there's an agreement to help develop it and likely some incentive in the future, but that's no different than any other economic development project we do with anybody. So this is not the city's project. There is not going to be debt issued. We have not spent any more money than what has already been spent. There will be no more money spent directly to them until they issue a building permit and turn dirt. But keep in mind, the part we're doing now, we're at platting, which requires stormwater drainage studies. This requires street layouts, elevations, utility extensions, traffic studies. All that takes time. So we started all of this as an idea to get the public in early, and we are listening to that feedback and making sure that we address things as we go. But it's not uncommon for this process to take, up to 2 or 3 years. The swimming pool project we just talked about, we first talked about that, almost 4 years ago? And that was the renovation of an existing facility. The Dome project, 7 Yucca Estates, just the platting and study for that was 18 months before we even could sign an incentive agreement with the developer to do it. I will add on Yucca Estates, we have issued our first 2 permits and they've laid out the footings for that. So we're getting ready to see home constructions going up. And so I just kind of wanted to just address that a little bit. There's been 2 news stories about. One was pretty good. One wasn't necessarily wrong, but it was phrased a little wonky that I think kind of raised some debate more so than what it needed to be. But we've kept the council in place. It's still going. It's but it's in their hands right now. They've got to get back something to us to make it developable. They've got to get documents back to us to issue a permit. We're at that point to where they've received our design standards and our platting requirements. And like I said, that just, it takes time. And that's why I think, if you recall in some of their early discussions, they were looking at a 3 to 5 year build out, because they knew it was going to take time to do some of that. I would look at what it's taken Kids Inc. how long just to get the money to start doing that. And now they're just rezoning. They don't even have a plat yet. They're just now getting to rezoning. And that started well before this project was announced. So there's nothing hinky. There's nothing unusual about any of this. And like I said, our budgets haven't changed. We've still supported, the EDC supported a multitude of projects this year outside of that. You've got Dottie's Donuts that got money. You've got Customs by Steve that got money. Peyton Machine, Disco, and Steve Olius got job training to help them get interns. So there's a lot of stuff still going on, and a lot of stuff we can't talk about. But I just kind of wanted to clarify some of that for the council and some of that information that's been out there.
Thank you, Garrett. And so if there's nothing else on that, we will move on to the consent agenda, items 6 through 10. And if there's any questions or comments on those, and if not, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept consent agenda items 6 through 10 as written.
Second.
All in favor? And they pass. And then moving on to item 11, receive a presentation, conduct a public hearing, and then consider and take appropriate action to introduce on first reading ordinance O-010-25, adopting a combined tax rate of .606807 per $100 valuation for fiscal year 2026. Mr. Spradlin.
So I start off this presentation every year kind of reminding everybody about their financial transparency. That's borgertx.gov or borgertx.gov/budget. There is a lot of information out there. Our tax rate revenue, our expenses, it's all out there. We're not hiding anything. Again, communication is a two-way street, and we can't, spoon feed it, but we can make it available, and we make a ton of it available. So when we look at our tax rate for this coming year, of course, the first part of that is our certified property values. So you'll see for 2025, the freeze adjusted certified property tax value is $510,646,850. That's up from $476 million the year before, which was down from $496 in 23. That drop in 23 to 24 was the homestead tax exemption that the council passed. So last year we did 20% homestead exemption for those that live in Borger. And so then this year we're back up a little bit with that. I know that everybody always gets freaked out when they see their appraised value, their new appraisal coming in, and oh my God, that's just gonna tax us more. Remember, that's only half of the equation. The other half of the equation is the tax rate. And so if you look at our tax rate chart, it's almost the complete opposite of the appraised value chart, because over the last 7 years, the council has given us instructions and we followed through to make sure that we're not passing on a lot of this cost through the tax rate. So in 2020, the city's combined tax rate was 0.86349. The proposed tax rate for fiscal 26 is 0.606. So that's 26 cents, give or take, that the tax rate has been lowered in the last 7 years. In each one of those years, we've adopted at or below the no new revenue rate. So we have not generated revenue, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. But so when everybody worries about, we're doing all this stuff just to raise their taxes, remember your property tax bill is not just the city. It's the city, the county, the school district, the college district, and the hospital district. We're just one piece of that. So what this chart shows you is that we've been doing our part to try to mitigate those property increases. Now, we're lucky because we have a multitude of other revenue sources to help offset that sum. Not all taxing entities are that lucky. The school district has no other revenue source because other than what the state gives them. So when you look at this year with our certified freeze adjusted value of 510, so last year's was 480, and then we have a tiers increment so that the increase in the tiers is $12 million. So we get to take that off. So that comes off too, which is how we cover the payment into the tiers, which then helps support our programs for downtown revitalization and tiers redevelopment. So, when we talk about that comes, our value without that would be 522, which would have then lowered the no new revenue rate even more than what it was. Does that kind of make sense? So our current rate is 0.6566.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
And I think I know this, but I'm pretty sure we went over it a million times, but the certified freeze adjusted rate, that is with the homestead.
That's with the homestead. So we added the homestead. We previously did a seniors tax freeze. So when you turn 65, your city taxes do not go up. So if you're over 65 and you have a homestead, your city taxes do not go up because we do the senior freeze. Then there's the disabled and military veteran freeze. So pretty much now with a 20% homestead and all those freezes, there is not a single tax reduction option that we can add. So we offer all the freezes and we offer the full homestead tax exemption. So now the only thing we can do is control the rate. So there's, as the way the law is written now, there's no other freeze or something we can add. We do the disabled and handicap, we do the senior, we do, and of course the military vet is dictated by state.
Yeah.
And so overall, if you're over 65, your taxes don't change anyway. Our voter approval rate is 0.881836. So that's the rate that we can adopt before required to have an election. So if we had an emergency or the council had unforeseen needs that they wanted to fund, we could go up to just 2.881836. So the rate we're proposing is the certified new revenue rate of 0.606807, which is, 28 cents below what we could go up if we needed to. That breaks down to an M&O rate of 0.4634 and an INS rate of 0.1434. And so overall, that's a decrease of 0.049838. So what this looks like, and you'll notice that the public notice is kind of a little wonky. It looks like we've got this big increase because we did a homestead exemption, which in 1 year, but we don't have comparative years yet. And so that's why you see this big average increase deduction, and the last year's home value was $78.99. So the first top of this chart is what the comparison would be if we hadn't have done a homestead exemption. And so you'll see that everything went down. The tax rate is down 7.6%. The average home value is up 2.5%. The average tax is down 5.3%. And then the total levy is down just 0.1 because we did adopt the no new revenue. So there's a little bit of fluctuation of that. Last year, our total levy was $3,101,000. This year, $3,098,000. But what you see and what goes out in the public notice is last year's average home value of $78.99. But last year when we did this, it was $85. This year, last year's value was $78.99 because they applied that 20% homestead exemption to it. And so it looks like the average value went up 22.4% because they took out that 20% homestead exemption. And so that's why I wanted to because the average tax with that is an increase of 13.62%. But it's a little more accurate to compare the top, because the top is no homestead average to average. The bottom is homestead. So it's kind of skews that previous year. This year, there was only $3,534 of new property on the tax roll. So what this actually looks like in the money that the city has. So this year, we're expecting in the general fund for maintenance and operation to have $2,422,301. That is down from 2020 when we had 2.998 coming in M&O property tax. So we've given up $500,000 in property tax revenue in the last 6 years, just from what we were collecting to what we are collecting now. So as you can see, we are not taking more tax money. We are taking less tax money.
Eric, can you go back to that for one right before that? The next one. I'm sorry. Further. What? I can't. The one that said how much new value.
Yeah, that's down here at the bottom.
Yes. Okay. So is that how does the tiers work? I mean, that's not just necessarily new value. It's if there's improved.
Increment.
Right, but I mean, it's also like if there's improvement in the tiers area, that property value also goes into the tiers. Okay.
Right. The new property is actual new construction.
Okay.
Because that doesn't go into your no new revenue rate calculation, because you are allowed to collect revenue on new property.
Okay.
So you can adopt a no new revenue and have more money coming in. That's more often seen in high developing cities. So like Canyon, I think, added like a couple $1 million in new homes and new property. So they get to collect the additional revenue on that because that increases need for services and things like that. So that doesn't go into your no new revenue rate. Last year, this was about $3 million because I think the Tractor Supply hit the tax roll last year and some of those things. This year, we haven't had anything big happen. Next year, I expect this number to be bigger because Yucca Estates is starting to develop. We're working on the development out behind Tractor Supply that we'll see if it hits next year or the year after, depending on how that works. But that's, you're not penalized for growing. But like for us, that's why we had such little. That's why the revenue actually went down a little bit.
That makes sense. I don't remember us discussing that I was just,
Normally, we haven't had enough of an improvement for it to be really seen, because where that, like I said, if I had, actually on the tax, so like if we had this chart, but it was going up, even though we were adopting the no new revenue rate, you'd be, wait, why is that going up?
okay, I see what you're.
And like I said, tax revenue can go up on new revenue. So even if you keep the no new revenue rate, you're allowed to take new revenue for taxes generated on new property.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, thanks.
But because of that, I also kind of want to talk a little bit about foregone revenue. And so this is the revenue that the city could have earned if they had adopted up to the no new revenue rate, which is what we could have done without voter approval. So in 2021, we could have generated another $467,000 in property tax revenue. In 22, we could have generated another $938,000. In 23, another $1.1 million. In 24, $784,000 additional dollars. And in last year, we could have done another $892,000. So we are being, staff and the council at council's direction are being very mindful of that tax rate and that impact. You can see that we could have easily, I'm not saying that y'all would have passed it or that the public would have been happy with it, but you can see that we could have gone up significantly if something happened. The other thing is I know as the rate kind of gets lower, sometimes we worry about, what do we do in a case of emergency? This is also shows you kind of how much we could raise if something happened and we needed to raise a little bit more money in a hurry because something drastically changed. That's what I have for the tax rate. Any questions before the public hearing?
Can you just kind of go over for the public about the debt,
The INS rate?
yeah, and like how we see that,
Right, and so-
we want to keep that at a certain rate.
Like what the council adopted earlier this year in our debt management policy is a target of 19 cents. And so what we talk about is when we talk about property tax, especially like property tax this year, I think is about 13% of general fund revenue. You saw it's $2.4 million. The general fund's budget is $21 million. So $2.4 million is not a whole lot of that. So a raise in the property tax doesn't generate just a whole lot of money, but it can provide more impact by offsetting debt payment to get us more debt projects that are investing in our community rather than offsetting operations with it. And so we've got a little bit of flexibility in there. And as the council's kind of been aware of, we're going to start looking at some of those projects that what we try to do is we do what they call a debt ladder, which is this, as one pays off, you issue another one and you try to work it up. And our goal is to work on debt issuances every 5 years. And so every 5 years you issue one when one pays off. We're not quite there. We need one more issuance to get into that cycle. But there are some things that generally are thought better to put on the debt, because if it's on the tax rate, the people are paying for it as they use it. So we talk a lot about that, like with a fire truck. So if we buy a fire truck with cash, that means the people that lived in Borger today bought that. But that fire truck has a 20-year life, and it's going to serve people that live in Borger over 20 years. So if it's on the debt rate, people pay that every year. So as people come and go, different people pay for it. I'm not saying you necessarily like that thinking, but that's some of the thinking that goes into that. I know that there are people that believe that you shouldn't have debt at all. We're never going to be able to have enough money to do a lot of the big projects in cash. Or you delay it so much that it raises the price. And so it's not necessarily about being debt free, it's about managing your debt. We don't want unlimited amount of debt, we want to manage it, and that's what that target of that INS rate is, so that we can manage and deal with that debt ratio. The rating agencies, Standard & Poor's and Moody's, you get dinged if you don't have debt, because they look at it that if you don't have debt, you are deferring maintenance and investment. And if you are deferring investment and maintenance, you are only increasing your cost and increasing problems down the road. So you actually get dinged for not doing that. which is why in our last S&P rating, if you noticed, I think I sent you one of the comments that they said, because our credit rating was actually upgraded. And in that upgrade, it says, we are aware of a planning upcoming debt issuance, and we expect this to have negligible impact on the city's credit worthiness or financials. Because they know that you have to invest back into your community. You can't not improve things. And that's, we'll have a slide next week. Next week we'll go through the budget, but that investment, even in like vehicles, that's kind of sometimes one of the big things I hear, and I'll talk about this again next week, but we're driving newer vehicles. And sometimes people complain about that. But because of that, we've reduced our maintenance line items by almost $300,000 a year. That's 30% we're saving in maintenance, and that's $300,000 every single year. That's part of what has allowed us to reduce that tax rate. So you think that we're wasting money, but we are being smart in that investment and returning it back to the citizens.
That's like on the investment we did here for the city hall renovation and the pool renovation. By doing that all at one time, we took out debt for that.
Yeah.
For doing that, we saved oodles of money, and plus we have it now instead of 5 years from now.
Right. When we actually did the analysis, we had planned on phasing in some improvements to City Hall, but prices go up each year, and then the contractors have to mobilize each year, and then we making interest on the loan money for that little bit of time that it's sitting there while we're spending it down. It ended up being about $40,000 cheaper to go ahead and issue the debt, do the project all at once with one mobilization at the same time we were doing the youth center project than it would have been if we had just paid for it with cash over time. And our credit rating is AA minus is a it's not that AAA. We're not big enough to probably ever have a AAA credit rating, but AA it's up there. And because of that, most of our tax supported debt is under 4% interest rate. Even the tax note that we took out for this project was issued at 4%, when the average, at the time we did that, the average mortgage rate was over 8%. So that investment and that debt policy and continuing to reinvest helps keep that rate down to where it is less expensive for us to continue investing in our stuff. If you stop that and it goes up, then when you do need to do something, it is even more expensive.
And I think that's what I wanted, them to know, is that there is a debt plan that we don't just say, oh, we want something, we're just going to file debt. We have a plan that one has to come off. There is absolutely a plan. We're not just going to say, oh, we want this and we're just going to do it,
Right. And that's, part of what you'll be looking at next week in the budget is also the CIP, which is our 5-year capital plan. We try to put as much in there as that we can think of. It's a living document, but there are a lot of things in there that are unfunded. And I know sometimes we get feedback, we're getting ready to tear up Main Street. No. Yes, it's in there because we know we need to do something with it, but it is not funded. I've been joking a lot lately. Besides, I need a little more meat on my rear end after all the chewing it got over 10th Street before I do another major street project. But we need to know, how can we plan for what we need to do if we don't know what we need to do? Yeah. And so that's what all of that is. And just like we do in everything else, And we did
win an award for planning.
We did. We were the Community of the Year in 2023 from the Texas Association of Planning.
Yeah. Thank you. So if there's nothing else, I guess we will conduct a public hearing, and I'll open that up. If anyone has anything they'd like to say about the tax rate. And if not, then I'll close the public hearing and we'll do a record vote. First, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance O-010-25, adopting a combined tax rate of 0.606807 cents per $100 valuation for fiscal year 2026. And I further announce that final action on the tax rate will be taken on September the 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m.
I second that.
And we'll do a record vote. All in favor? Sorry, I got off track there. And it is approved unanimously.
Perfect.
And then we'll move on to item 12, receive the fiscal year 2026 proposed operating budget, schedule a public hearing for September 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 PM, and then consider and take appropriate action to introduce on first reading ordinance O-011-25, adopting the fiscal year 2025 operating budget. Mr. Spradlin.
So I don't have a whole lot to say about this because like I said, we will have a presentation just kind of like what we did today on the tax rate on the budget next week when we do the presentation. I did kind of want to point out some final wording in the ordinance. You know, we talked about the new wording for what is the difference between legally adopted and how we're going to handle some of those other funds for how it impacts the audit. And so just to I did want to kind of point out that change, and I think the way I finally got it worded makes a lot more sense. And so we are legally adopting Funds 1, the General Fund, Fund 2, Water Sewer Fund, Fund 6, Economic Development Fund, Fund 45, INS Fund, Fund 46, the Venue Project Fund, and Fund 52, the Capital Construction Fund. Then the following funds are included in the budget as approved financial plans for the same fiscal year, but are not considered legally adopted budgets under Chapter 102 of the Texas Local Government Code. Fund 3, the Tourism Fund. Fund 9, the Park Special Project Fund. Fund 25, the Opioid Grant Fund. Fund 31, the Fire Training Fund. Fund 40, the Court Security Fund. Fund 50, the Court Technology Fund. Fund 51, the Water Sewer Capital Construction Fund. Fund 53, the Tax Increment Finance Fund. And Fund 65, the Capital Equipment Fund. These funds shall remain subject to the city's established policies, internal budgetary controls, and oversight practice. So they are in the budget, like we talked about, presented the same way, but there is that wording change. If we legally adopt them, when it comes to the audit, we have to have a budget comparison of adopted to final, and then you've got to remain within 10%. So in a lot of those minor funds, that's for the GFOA standard. Previously, it didn't matter because we weren't trying to get the best practices. Now that we're trying to get the best practices, it does matter. So all this does is it removes a budget comparison from the audit book, which takes more time for the auditor to do for that second group. You still have to approve the budget, you still have to approve expenditures, you still get the budget reports, and everything is still in the budget. There's no real transparency. We just don't get dinged on some of those funds if, like, a capital construction project carried over from one year to another. And so that's been where we've been dinged, where it's been hard to keep up with a lot of our capital construction. Is like 10th Street. We thought we were going to spend $4 million, but it got delayed because of the gas company. So we only spent $2 million this year. And now we spent $2 million in that year, but we only budgeted $1 million because it crossed. And then if we don't go back and amend the budget in time, then the GFOA gets us. But nothing's changing with how we operate. It's just going to change how it's presented. Does that answer everybody's questions on that? I know
Does
that
anybody
was,
have anything on that?
like I said, I think when you see it in how that's worded, it makes a lot more sense that, you know, we're not trying to bypass council authority or any other control. We're just trying to make the audit a little easier. Other than that, that's all I have on the budget for this meeting. Like I said, we will have a big public presentation like we do every year at the next meeting.
If there's nothing, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to receive the fiscal year 2026 proposed operating budget, direct the city secretary to schedule a public hearing for September the 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 PM, and to introduce ordinance O-011-25, adopting the fiscal year 2026 operating budget.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. Item 13, consider and take appropriate action to introduce on first reading ordinance O-012-25, amending the City of Borger's fee schedule for the fiscal 2026 budget year. Mr. Spradlin.
So again, this will be part of the presentation next week, but to keep us on time, we have to introduce it. There are only 3 fee changes this year. It's really only 2 because one's all the solid waste fees are going up by 50 cents with our contract with Pampa, like we've done every year, because, you know, we have to dispose of it somewhere. And then the rate study increase. So we're following the 2022 rate study, which is another increase in the sewer base rate from $21 to $23.25 a month. That is the last recommended increase from the fees, the water study analysis. And if you recall, in year one of that, we reduced the water rate. And so to make sure that it wasn't, that the sewer didn't hit you all at once, we reduced the water rate in year one and then have slowly been raising the sewer rate. So overall, the impact is somewhat negligible there, but this is the last recommended. The plan goes through 2027. So next year we plan on no increases to utility rates. Of course, the solid waste will probably have to, be adjusted with Pampa, but I did just kind of want to throw that out there. But right now, this year, that's just solid waste is like 6 fees, but it's still just 50 cents a month. It's the tipping fees and so it's really only kind of that one change. But I'll entertain any other questions on that, but we will point that out again next week or next meeting.
Anyone have anything? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance O-012-25, amending the City of Borger Code of Ordinance, Chapter 1, General Provision, Article 1-07, fee schedule.
A second.
All in favor? And it passes. And item 14, consider and take appropriate action on an interlocal agreement between the City of Borger and the Borger Independent School District for water system operations.
So,
Oh, Mr. Spradlin, sorry.
yep, nope, that's fine. So, as you recall, like 2 years ago, BISD consolidated with Spring Creek. The way state law is that if you serve more than so many connections or more than so many people, you are considered a public water system. So since the Spring Creek School serves more than 35 people, it's always been considered a public water system. They have one well. It's almost like a residential well with a little chlorinator on it and servicing the school. But because it is a public water system, it has to be operated by a licensed operator. And so I'm not 100% sure what happened when it transferred from Spring Creek to BISD. But whatever was handling that kind of went by its wayside. So BISD has been getting a lot of notices from TCEQ on their compliance. So the new superintendent reached out to me about working on an interlocal agreement for us to operate it. It's not a whole lot we were already doing the testing for bacteria in the water. Anyway, and we have been for a long time. So this is just making sure that so with this, our people will go out there and just keep an eye on it, do a daily check, and then Chris will help support the paper. It should not take a lot of time. Like I said, it's one well and a little chlorinator. Of course, we'll have to change out the chlorine for them and the chlorinator when it's required. But the way that the interlocal is agreement, we're going to not charge them anything to do it except the actual cost associated. So I'm not going to charge them for personnel time unless it generates overtime or any expendable. So if we buy the chlorine to put in there, we will charge them for the chlorine, but they'll probably buy it and we'll just go get it. If we've got any out of pocket expenses, like if we have to buy parts to repair something, we'll bill them for the parts. We're not going to eat that, but we're not going to charge them for budgeted time. Like I said, it's a little bit of a drive. I mean, you just got time and going out there, but it's closer than any of our other wells that we're operating. So we'll probably just put it on. Harry's the well field guy. He can go out there and check it just like he does all of our other wells. It's not a big deal. And I do think it's always good to help out other agencies and other taxing entities when we can. And we definitely have a little bit of experience in that, a lot more than probably a superintendent or a teacher. The school board has already approved it for that, but other than that, if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
If there's none, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Borger and the Borger Independent School District for the operation of the Spring Creek water supply system.
Second.
All in favor? And it passes. And item 15, consider an R-015-25 approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Borger and the Panhandle Regional Planning Commission for grant administration for the Huber Park Playground Project.
You don't have to read all that.
Okay. Mr. Spradlin.
So this is just kind of some house cleaning. This is for the grant that we already got. PRPC went through some personnel change back when we applied for this grant. The employee that applied for us left between when they applied and when it got awarded. For whatever reason, we never got this interlocal agreement approved for the administration. PRPC has done the administration for it. We've paid them for it. We just needed to get the authorization for the interlocal. So all this is a little housekeeping on that grant. If you recall, it was it was a $400,000 project, and the grant paid for $200,000 of that. So it still definitely looks like the kids enjoyed it this summer. It's definitely an improvement out there.
And that, the
Sand.
what?
Oh, the pour and place safety surface.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I hope we do that at every one of them that we do.
That's my goal. That stuff is not cheap, but it is way easier on maintenance, and
that's so
it's
great.
way better. So, that stuff is in Buena Vista Park where we put the new play equipment, and it's in Keeler Park where we put the new play equipment too.
I
So
think it's also better on kids' knees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Better than sand. Just saying.
Okay.
no, there's a reason it's expensive,
A little
but
bit of bounce in there.
there again, it's way, we have to put sand in the areas where we have sand. You have to refill the sand every year, pretty much. Even the rubber chips, you get blown out, and there's some maintenance. So that stuff, there's a little bit of maintenance, but not much.
Right.
But it is of that $400,000 project. The pour in place was, of course, there's a lot of it
Yeah.
in that play area, but it's the playground equipments. They come in thirds. A third of it's the equipment, a third of it's the pour in place, and a third of it is the installation.
Yeah. Well, it was a good thing. So, but I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution R-015-25, authorizing the city manager to execute an interlocking agreement with the Panhandle Region Planning Commission for grant administration service related to the Hero Park playground area.
Second.
And all in favor? And it passes. And then item 16, consider and take appropriate action to authorize the bid for replacement skate park equipment to American Ramp Company in the amount of $150,803.99, utilizing Sourcewell Cooperative Purchase Contract number 112420-ARC. Mr. Spradlin.
So, we've been working on this for a little bit. Of course, we had some public comment on this. I don't want you to necessarily think this is in response to the public comment. It's not in response to the public comment, but we had been working on this. Martin had been working on this for quite a while. So, we knew something needed to be done and was coming up. After doing some checking with the budget, we do have some surplus in this current budget year that after a little bit of discussion with the council was open to the idea of using that. This report here, I just wanted to show you, I've gone through and done the budget adjustments, and this just shows you where I've put the money to show you that the money is available in that parks capital equipment, other equipment line item without changing the total expenditures of the budget or the total revenue of the budget. So this will replace it. If you notice, I did find the invoice where we did actually buy this from the church back in 2007. And so it's definitely seen some good use. It is not serviceable really anymore. That parks people have done a good job at trying to keep it up. What is bid in front of you is an all metal surface with a coated riding surface. So it's metal framed and steel ramp with a riding surface coated. So it's got a 20-year manufacturer's warranty. So they'll manufacture the riding surface and the structural integrity of it for 20 years. It is fastener free, so no screws. I know a lot of the complaints that we've been getting on the current one are the loose screws and all that coming out. This is all welded together. So it will be a much better product than what is there and should get us by for.
They weld it on place or in place?
They come and install it. I'm not for sure. I think it depends on the piece. Some of it will have to be put together on site. There is some layout of what the design set up to be, because some of that won't transport, but it should be minimal. Most of it will fit on
the
a
surface.
So it's steel, but then they coat it with just like
Like an acrylic.
like
or something.
like an acrylic type paint that
Okay. So it's not going to be chipping off and.
it shouldn't.
Okay.
We've got the 20-year warranty if it is.
Okay.
My deal is this, the graffiti. That they say if graffiti is sprayed on there, would it be easy to get it off or?
It should be because the coating, like there'll be less surface because it won't be, some of it's not all enclosed, so you don't just have flat enclosures. And then that coating surface that is supposed to deter paint from sticking because it is a coating, not a paint.
Okay.
So we'll see, but worst case scenario, it will be a lot easier to paint than that wood.
Yeah.
The
Like plywood.
yeah, that other material that is there because it is just metal. So even if you do have to paint, get a spray gun paint over it, and you don't have it showing through like you do on the wood stuff, it doesn't absorb the paint, so the paint will cover it. But
Now, will there be any type of digital cameras out there if anybody would happen to spray paint anything like that, or?
we can look at that.
Security.
We have the ability to do some of that stuff, and we're trying to figure out where to do that. I know that we've been looking at buying also a portable one of those security camera trailers that you can like haul around. It's got the little blue light so that we can just like haul it to problematic areas and discourage things. But those things have been a little expensive, so we're still looking at things like that.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about some of the other stuff we've heard in the past.
Well, and you said it didn't really come from public comment so much, it was worked on before, but the public comment I thought was really good. And I'm hoping, what I hope that the public will do, and these ones that are using, is they will monitor it themselves and they will shut down some of the stuff, some of the abuse of the equipment. I mean, maybe they can speak up and ask, we can't keep having good stuff if people will not take care of them. And so hopefully, I mean, we talked about it takes a village. I mean, it takes the citizens, even at Huber Park, to speak up when they see something. I mean, when someone is tearing something up, and then, speak up, because if we don't speak up, then we can't just keep replacing and replacing and replacing. It's not going to work. And so I'm hoping that some of the people that are excited about the skate park, and I know there is kids that are excited about it, and I'm excited for them. I was very impressed with the boy that came.
Right.
I'm really, and I did reach out to him and told him that this was going on, and that, I hope he understands what a positive voice can accomplish. And I hope everyone understands that, what a positive voice can accomplish. And I'm trying not to preach, but I'm serious about it. I mean, we have got to start monitoring what is happening in the community instead of expecting the city and the police department and all of that to be monitoring it. It is citizens' ability to have things in the city. We can replace, we can have so much in the city if it will get taken care of. And I just hope that this kid and the kids that are using it, that they will stop some of that.
Proactive is so much better than reactive.
Absolutely.
Well, it goes back to what I say all the time: is everything we do is in partnership with the community. It has to be a
Absolutely.
partnership, and you can't
Yes.
expect us to do everything, and we can't expect them to do everything.
Absolutely.
And that's, if somebody sees somebody doing something, take a picture.
Absolutely.
You can file a complaint. We can help you file a complaint. A cop can't do anything unless they see it in progress. But if you have evidence, we can help you work a case. We can take the complaint to municipal court.
Yeah.
And this, I don't necessarily want to say it's not from necessarily public comment, because this is definitely driven from public comment, but more than just one, because we had seen the comments on Facebook, and we do monitor the community engagement and the community response, and do try to base our reactions to what the community wants. And that's kind of like what I talked about earlier, that, there is always a fish.
Yeah.
And so this definitely,
And I mean, everything that we are doing as a council, I mean, it came from the community. We did a comprehensive plan. I mean, it was not just a council, what we wanted to see. It was exactly what the citizens asked us to see. They want entertainment. They want housing. They want everything. And I mean, So, you know, we do take the citizen, and they need, I feel like citizens need to take that and run with it and be excited for what we have and take care of it.
Well, and I would point out too, in parks is a lot of times one of our hardest things because, you know, everybody wants their park or what we do isn't what they wanted. And so I just kind of want to remind you everything that we have done in parks over the last couple of years. I mean, Huber Park just got all that replaced. Keeler Park got new play equipment with safety service. Buena Vista Park got new play equipment with splash pad. We've got new bleachers going in at Agnes Howe. We just added some more new LED out at Agnes Howe, updated LED lights, updating
And
those.
North Hughes, they got, their equipment got repaired, and I want to thank y'all for that. Looks good.
We've got new climbers at Cofield. We've got climbers in Yucca Park. We've got climbers at Agnes Howe. We've got more climbers probably coming in a couple of years. I mean, we are trying to do a multitude of investments. We just redid the swimming pool. You know, now you've got new skate park stuff coming. I mean, we are making those improvements. It just, you know, it takes time. We don't have unlimited money, and we are constantly judging the desires of a diverse group.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
This contract is for the equipment, right?
And installation.
Okay, do we have to do any kind of concrete work or anything?
What's out there, they have designed it around the concrete work that is existing.
Okay, are we gonna buy the little shade thing, because it doesn't, not part of the
The shade
contract?
thing is already up there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have we got our new shade fabric yet? It got destroyed in the wind. The structure is there, but we have POs issued for the shade fabric for the skate park and shade fabric for the dog park. I know that I've seen some comments about that. It's not that we're not taking care of things, and it's not, I mean, I've got to, you know, we've got to get it. I can't. I'm not a very good seamstress. But we do have the shade structure, and it just needs the fabric, which is on order.
Okay. Is there any other questions or anything? And if there's not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the purchase of replacement skate park equipment from the American Ramp Company for the amount of $150,803.99, utilizing Sourcewell Cooperative Purchase Contract number 112420-ARC.
Second.
All in favor? And it passes. And item 17, consider and take appropriate action to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
And all in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.